Evening, church. The scripture reading for tonight comes from the Old Testament in Psalms, the book of Psalms, chapter 8, verses 1 to 9. And let me see if I can operate this thing. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark because of your foes, to silence the enemy and the avenger. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, what are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? Yet you have made them a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honour. You have given them dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, and whatever passes along the paths of the seas. O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth.
Thank you, Shane. Hello, everyone. Hello. How's things? Going well, I hope. Welcome to our online people as well. I wish you could be here and have supper with us, but make sure there's heaps of supper. Oh, I'm sorry. But, you know, you can make a cup of tea or something, have a Tim Tam. Yes, we are starting a new series tonight. I'm very excited about this. What are human beings? That you are mindful of them. Mortals, that you care for them. I probably should have introduced myself because there are probably new people here. I'm Denise, I'm the pastor, and I'm staying for the wide spread of supper and a cup of tea. I hope you do too. This is a really interesting passage. I love it. What are human beings? That you are mindful of them. Mortals, that you care for them. Psalm 8 is pondering how majestic God is, and that leads to wondering what human beings are and why God would care for them, which leads to praising God for how majestic God is. Kind of goes around in a circle. So we're about to launch into this new sermon series, and I'm excited about it, particularly because we have some amazing guest speakers lined up, and I know they are going to challenge us and help us think in new ways about what it means to be human. So I wanted to spend this week giving you a bit of a rationale for the series, like why are we doing this, and also a little bit of an introduction to what's coming. So why reflect on this very big question, what does it mean to be human? Is this just going to be a philosophy discussion or some sort of academic exercise? Well, I think that the way that we answer this question, or maybe should I say attempt to answer it, it actually has real life consequences. Reflecting on this very big question impacts the way that we make little decisions that make up everyday life. For me, this question impacts the way I drive my car. Do you remember the story of Cain and Abel? It's in Genesis chapter 4. When after Cain murdered his brother Abel, God came searching for Abel and couldn't find him. So he asked Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" And Cain lied. "I don't know." And then he added a question. "Am I my brother's keeper?" I feel like Cain was just being snarky to try and sort of cover his guilt. But that is a really big question about being human, isn't it? And you know what? God doesn't answer that question. Cain asks a snarky question and God just leaves it hanging there. It's left hanging there. It's left hanging there for each one of us reading that story to ponder. Am I my brother's keeper? See, I live in a world with other people. And so the decisions that I make have an impact on other people. Every action has a consequence because we live in this interconnected world, an interconnected physical world. What then is my responsibility towards those other humans that I share this world with? Do I have any responsibility for them? Or am I a free agent able to live however I choose and make decisions based solely on what's best for me? When I'm running late and I'm driving on the freeway, the other cars on the road, they're not just obstacles in my path to getting to my meeting on time. I'm not playing a video game where it doesn't matter what risks I take to get past them. There's a human being in that Corolla, in that beat up Subaru, in that BMW. There's a human in that car with a life and with loved ones. And the way that I drive has the potential to destroy someone else's life. And I don't want my impatience, my recklessness, my lack of grace and space that somebody else might need to make a driving error to result in their life being changed forever. And so I take a deep breath and I tell myself to chill, because that's my brother in that car. That's my human sibling in that car, driving slow in the right lane. And their life is worth more than my meeting, even if they are an idiot. Now, of course, I'm human and have been known to make driving errors. Everyone does. And you know, sometimes terrible accidents happen. And we have to deal with that. But when I drive, I remember that I am my brother's keeper. It's part of my humanity. It's part of what makes me human. Steve Biddulph says, if you don't think much of human beings, then deep down, you don't think much of yourself. The book club. Have you heard about this book club? Psychologist Stephen Biddulph's book, Fully Human, A New Way of Using Your Mind, gives his understanding of what it means to be human. The underlying idea of Steve's book is this metaphor, the human as a 4-story mansion. At the ground floor, we're basically an animal body that gets hungry and thirsty and feels physical sensations. And you know, if we stop long enough, you can actually notice those physical sensations. You can feel the breeze on your skin, slight pain in the lower back, some tension in the jaw. See, the ground floor is the floor of our instincts. The uneasy feeling in your stomach when you hear footsteps behind you in a deserted alleyway. We ignore our ground floor at our peril. We go up to our first floor to find our emotional selves. We feel lonely or joyous. We feel frustrated or contented. Emotions are sensations, but with meaning. On the second floor, I realise that tension in my jaw might be telling me that I'm frustrated. And when I stop to listen to it, I discover that I'm frustrated because my husband has stacked the dishwasher incorrectly once again. The next floor up is where our thoughts live. The ability to reason, make decisions, to put thoughts into words so that we can communicate complex ideas to other humans. So I go to my third floor to explain to my husband how to stack the dishwasher correctly. Or perhaps to think through, does it really matter the way that the dishwasher is stacked? That's my third floor. People are nodding. Yes, it does. It does matter. And in my particular dishwasher, you know, if you put the glass in the wrong place, sometimes it tips over and I'm always a bit worried that it's going to break. So yeah, it is important. I think I will stick with that. I don't think Drew's watching at home, so this is all good. Just don't mention it if you meet him. How about the top story, the fourth floor? The top story is the home of our spirituality. It's about love. It's about a sense of the sacredness of life. Have you been there? Have you been to that top story? It's about a sense of connection to others and to the world around us. It's how we view our place in the universe. It's about freedom. It's about peace. It's about creativity. It's about connection with God, connection to the divine. Without the top floor, life can feel very empty and very meaningless. This is Steve Biddulph's metaphor. And he insists that growing in the ability to move up and down all four stories of your life helps us to live a more fully human life. And his book sets out a very practical path of navigating life in this four-storey mansion that we live in. And there's still time, unlike camp, there is still time to sign up for the book club. If you don't sign up for camp by midnight tonight, tent. But if you forget to sign up for the book club, that's okay. You've still got a few more days to do it. And you can even probably drop in after that as well. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to be part of the book club, maybe get the book and just read it through yourself. It's a very interesting book. And as I said last week or a couple of weeks ago, you might not agree with everything that's in the book. I would hate to recommend a book that we all just agreed with, because that would seem to be pointless. Anyway, there are just so many elements to being human, isn't there? And there's so many perspectives from which to explore this question, what does it mean to be human? And we're going to explore some of those perspectives, hear some of those perspectives over the next weeks and even months. Being human and death. Nothing is more certain, is it, than death and taxes? We live and then we die. What is life? And what is death? Reverend Jenny Bush, who is with us here tonight, she's sat with the dying. She's sat with families of the dying as they've come to terms with the death of a loved one and wondered how life can possibly go on. She's reflected on death and on life, and she's going to share some of her reflections on being human and those topics. So thanks, Jenny. Looking forward to that. Being human and disability. We've got this category that we call disability. And I looked up a definition. According to the US CDC, a disability is any condition of the body or mind, impairment, that makes it more difficult for the person with the condition to do certain activities. That's activity limitation. And interact with the world around them. Participation restrictions. That's what the definition said. I guess disability can imply, the word disability can imply that there's a standard for like a perfect human. And I wonder if we think about standard for a perfect human, people who have been brought up in the church, their minds might go immediately to Adam and Eve, maybe. And disability is the degree that we deviate from that perfect standard. But thinking about being human through a disability theology lens really quite disrupts that thinking, and it reminds us that all human bodies have limitations. In fact, limitation is part of being human. And our very own Christine Tilley has lived with disability for most of her life, and she is uniquely positioned to help us think things about being human that we may not have thought of before. She's going to be writing to us her lived experience, about her lived experience, and I'm really looking forward to reading and sharing what she's written. So thank you, Christine. Christine's here as well. Being human and gender. God created humans in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. What do we do with that in this congregation? How is our gender related to our humanity? What is gender? And how does it impact the way that we walk through the world, navigate through the world? And is God a he? Formerly a priest in the Anglican Church and now as an ordained minister at Pitt Street Uniting Church in Sydney, Reverend Joe Inkpin is Australia's first openly transgender minister of religion. And she and her wife of 39 years, Reverend Penny Jones, are coming in September to MCC Brisbane, and they're going to speak to us on the topic of being human and gender. And I just can't wait to hear that. I heard Jo speak recently, and she's really thoughtful, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Penny has to say as well. Being human and AI, artificial intelligence. Do you know, some scientists are predicting that the singularity, the time when artificial, technological intelligence surpasses human intelligence, is less than a decade away. For you younger people, that might seem like a long time, but... If brain interfaces formed by nanobots inserted into our capillaries sounds like complete science fiction to you, remember when cochlear implants were science fiction? Does this looming future terrify you or excite you? Dr Victoria Lorimer is a senior research fellow at Notre Dame University and works at the intersection of theology and AI. And she's going to record a presentation for us where she's going to raise some questions about what it means to be human when it comes to technological human enhancement. She warned me she has a lot of questions that she can raise, but she might not have answers to all of those questions. But I'm looking forward to that too. I worked with Vicky a few years ago, and she's a smart person, and I'm really looking forward to that presentation. Being human and our place in creation. What's our relationship to this planet, this land that we have committed in this service to walk upon softly, this land that we call home? God tells humans in Genesis 1 to fill the earth and subdue it, to rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and every creature that moves on the ground. How are we supposed to understand that? The majority consensus of scientists is that our planet is in crisis because of human-induced climate change. I would really like to hear an Indigenous perspective on this topic, and I'm working on that, so stay tuned. So these are some of the topics that we're going to be exploring, along with a few others that I've been thinking about with help from some books and some podcasts, my own reading of the Bible, and my own life and faith experience. Next week, I'm going to take a dive into the pages of the Bible to see what we can discover about being human there. We'll only scratch the surface, but just enough to see the big picture things that might give us a bit of a framework for some of these other topics. So I'm looking forward to this series. I think that it promises to be interesting, but my hope is that it's more than that. I hope that reflecting on the big question of what it means to be human begins to just sort of organically shape the little decisions of our lives, not in some moralistic or legalistic or, I have to set goals to make this happen, but almost without us noticing as we reflect on this stuff, as we ponder, what are human beings that you are mindful of them? Mortals, that you care for them. That how we drive, how we shop, how we spend our spare time, how we speak to others, what we do at work, how we live in these bodies and walk through this world day by day, it might just subtly shift and we might live an ever more fully human life.